top with the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. They both are 4-2 and essentially tied for the #1 spot in the North. And so when we think about the Baltimore Ravens, we are a team that has kind of found an identity offensively. We have been putting together good play over the last 3 to 4 weeks. We've been solid offensive line blocking. We've been really good in the run game, and Lamar Jackson has been excellent with his passing and decision making, and that has led us from an 0-2 record to a 4-2 record. But when I think about the Baltimore Ravens, I think about this being an all-in type of year, because it is absolutely an arms race right now in the AFC. And so I think that the Baltimore Ravens must make a few moves in order to stay at the top of the AFC North and then also be in competition for a top 4 spot in the AFC overall as it pertains to playoff seeding. I think that the Baltimore Ravens right now, they need 2 primary things. I think they need a #1 type edge rusher and also a #1 type wide receiver. Now, can they get that? I think they could, but I think they would have to make some moves with the salary cap, redoing contracts and things like that. I'm saying this because I think it must be an all-in year. They must take this as an all-in year, because you don't get many chances to have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in the same backfield. You don't get many chances for Zay Flowers to be kind of building on a successful rookie year. And you don't get many chances to have this type of play along that defensive line as it pertains to the trenches. And so you have several things working for you. You have several things working in your favor. And I think that it's time for the Baltimore Ravens to lean into F the cap and F the picks. You don't hear me cuss on here because that's not how I get down. But I think we need to lean into a LA Rams type of mindset, right? Because how many more years are we going to just be in contention off the strength of Lamar Jackson, right? And so I think that's what needs to happen. I will have a couple of videos talking about trades and trade candidates if those guys haven't already moved by the time I do the video. I thought it's too early right now, as we are roughly 15-ish days out from the trade deadline. And so I didn't want to get too ahead of myself and be talking about players who already come off the board, as we saw earlier this week. And so I think that's what needs to happen. I think that getting a dominant edge rusher will help out the secondary. And I think getting a #1 type wide receiver will help out the offense. So I know some of you may be saying, well, we don't need a #1 wide receiver. We're doing good. We got Zay, we got Bank. And I get what you're saying. I do. But when are we going to really push all our chips into the table, right? If Zay is great right now, and if Bateman is coming on and having a solid season, what would they look like if they had another guy who has a presence on the offense? Another guy who could take the attention, another guy who could make some big catches. See, when I say a #1 wide receiver, I'm really wanting a presence, just like Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, more than his numbers on the field, he brings a presence. He brings the type of presence that you have to take note of. Yeah, I see. In the past, we had Gus Edwards, good back. J.K. Dobbins, a good back. They didn't have no presence. It was still Lamar Jackson who made all things work offensively. Now, when you say, man, Lamar and Derrick Henry in that backfield, it's a presence. And so that's what we need at the wide receiver position. Guys know that Zay is great. But because Zay has to be the #1, it's easier to take Zay out of the game. And then Bate is playing like a #2, but his possession, his chain moving possessions are more suitable for a #3. And this is no knock to either one. I'm just wanting us to push the all-in button once. We can fix the salary cap. Y'all know that we can do that, because there's a couple of guys who needs to go off this team right now as far as salary. And so we can make the necessary adjustments in the offseason to fix the cap. So that's what I'm thinking, man. Like I said, I'll do that video with some candidates if they're still on the table, probably middle of next week. Let's go to the Steelers really quick. The Pittsburgh Steelers are a team that's playing dominant defense. They have everything they need defensively right now. They have a dominant edge rusher. They have solid linebacking play, and then their secondary is coming together pretty well, playing good coverage, and so they're doing super well defensively. It's offense that they've had some struggles, but they've been getting it together as of late. But as of yesterday, I think you guys may have seen, and I also read an article where they're thinking about switching out Justin Fields for Russell Wilson, which will be a schematical change for sure, because what Justin Fields can do well, that's not really Russell Wilson's cup of tea. So it'll be super interesting to see what they do offensively if they really make that move. I think that if they went with Russell Wilson, I think the deep ball will be more in play, of course. And I think if the deep ball is more in play, I think that'll also help out the run game, because it'll stretch the defense to where you can't really load the box to stop that run with like a Justin Fields and a Najee Harris. And so that's what I think for the Steelers. I think they will certainly stay in contention. I don't think it really matters whether it's Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. I think they're well coached, and I think they'll do what they need to do defensively to keep games close and pull things out in the end, just like they always have. And so I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers stay at the top of the AFC North, and it'll be a fight to the end. If I look at the Cincinnati Bengals, they're hot offensively right now. I mean, they're super hot. They're putting up big points, which I think makes them a viable option for playoff contention. I think that if the Steelers or the Ravens have a mid-season stumble and lose a couple of games, I think that could put the Bengals back in play if they don't stumble. Nevertheless, I don't think there's a real way for them to fix that defense mid-season. They can certainly go add a player or two. I don't know if they will, especially with big contracts coming up for both Jamar Chase and then also possibly T. Higgins. And the Joe Burrow money is on the books now because that pertains to his new contract. So I'm not sure if they'll make a move. They may just make some adjustments and keep pushing. But I think that they are a viable option for sure to make the playoffs. And again, if the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens have a stumble, they absolutely could be in competition for that AFC North title. When we jump down to the Cleveland Browns, I think they are in reset mode. Simply because you watched them trade away Amari Cooper yesterday, and you don't really trade away your number one wide receiver. Even if he's not having a good season, you don't really trade away your number one wide receiver if you are gonna try and make things right this season. And so I think you could see a couple more pieces lead the Cleveland Browns this offseason. I think another guy you could see be on the move if he gets healthy is a Nick Chubb. He hasn't made his appearance this season thus far. And with the trading away of Amari Cooper, one or two things are going to happen. Either they're going to keep him on the shelf, let him get right for 2025 season, or they'll move him. But I think the Cleveland Browns are on reset mode, and I would not be surprised if they start looking for somebody to take Deshaun Watson. In fact, you could even consider that they may have a Russell Wilson and Denver Broncos situation where you're just willing to get off of Deshaun Watson's bad contract, even though it would hurt. Pressing reset at the quarterback position may be more beneficial long-term for the Cleveland Browns, because they can absolutely tank this season and get into that top 5, top 6 pick range where they can get one of the young quarterbacks. And so even if they release Deshaun Watson, the quarterback money kind of gets offset when you have a rookie on his rookie deal combined with what Deshaun Watson would have been making. I certainly see them being able to do that and being willing to do that, because it has been a disaster since they went after Deshaun Watson. So all those teams that were in the Deshaun Watson pursuit, man, I know they're breathing a little easier today, because it has absolutely been a car accident when it comes to watching what the Cleveland Browns have become under his quarterback. Let's jump outside of the AFC North and let's talk about the AFC. When you jump up to the East, I think you have two teams in competition. You have the New York Jets and you have the Buffalo Bills, both who made big moves on yesterday, I believe it was. You saw the Buffalo Bills trade for Amari Cooper, and you saw the New York Jets, as expected, trade for Devontae Adams. And I think that that will absolutely reinvigorate the fan base in both these cities. I think that will reinvigorate offenses in both of these organizations. I think that what you had seen from Josh Allen is a lot of hero ball this year. And I think that that's the one thing that you saw was missing, was a number one wide receiver, which would allow Keon Coleman to move to a number 2 type role where he can still learn and develop. I think Amari Cooper is a good guy to learn from. He's always been a team guy. He has excellent hands. He's a good route runner, and I think Keon Coleman can absolutely learn from Amari Cooper. And I don't think Amari Cooper has to come in and get 10 targets a game. I think that just having the presence of him there takes some pressure off of Keon Coleman and allows him to settle into that number 2 role better. So I look for the Buffalo Bills to get a little offensive boost, and I think they become a much more dangerous team as this mid-season approaches. When you jump to the New York Jets, they are already loaded, with a lot of weaponry, right? And so it really says what Aaron Rodgers isn't right now at the quarterback position, because you already had Allen Lazard, a 6'5" guy who has good speed and good hands, a guy he knows from Green Bay. You already had a young talent in Garrett Wilson. You already picked up Mike Williams, who hasn't really been integrated into this offense. You have 2 good running backs, and you still look like some trash sometimes offensively. And so I think that adding Davante Adams will absolutely kind of push everybody into a new role. Davante Adams absolutely will be the number 1. Garrett Wilson is absolutely great number 2. And then Mike Williams falls to the number 3 if they don't trade him. I think that is a possibility. I think he could absolutely request a trade or just want out because if he's not getting balls right now, right, he's not going to get many more balls with Davante Adams, Garrett Wilson, and Allen Lazard. So I could see them moving off from Mike Williams. Whether they release him or trade him, I could see that happening. But what does this do for the Jets? I think it makes them, again, better offensively, but I don't know how much better. Yes, is he a stud? Yes. Is that Aaron Rodgers' favorite wide receiver probably in his career? Yes. And I think that's something that has to be sorted out in the NFC East. That's their problem, not our problem, until we get to the playoffs. But I absolutely think it does make them better. You can't add a guy like that and not get better. So I think those are the 2 options, 2 teams that are in playoff contention and also could be a viable Super Bowl option out of the East. When you jump to the West, you absolutely see the Raiders hit reset. And they're going to have a reset at quarterback. They're going to have a reset at wide receiver. And they may even have a reset on defense, as I heard a lot of rumors about a Max Crosby being on the move, which is a guy that I think in Baltimore we should be interested in. We should absolutely be interested in Max Crosby. Absolutely. I think he's worth giving up a first round pick for. I don't really care about his contract right now. If we can pull a deal and get him in-house, I absolutely think he changes the game defensively. Yes, do I want more offensive weaponry? Yes. But to get a guy with the caliber of Max Crosby on this Baltimore Ravens defense, I could get down with that. So that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing some rumors that he could be on the move. So it's a possibility because we could definitely use that help. So the Raiders are pressing reset, so they're out. And so you really have 3 teams in competition out there in the West. That's the Chiefs, who are going to win that division. You have the Chargers, who sit at 4-2, and you have the surprise Denver Broncos with a rookie quarterback at 3-3. And so I think all of those teams are in play. The only thing I think that would take Denver out of the playoff race or playoff competition would be if they move a couple of their wide receiving pieces or some of their young talent who are going to be free agents this year. So, kind of keep an eye on Denver and see what they may or may not do over the next couple of weeks. But not much to say about the Chiefs. I think you will see them make a move and add a wide receiver, no question, especially if the Miami Dolphins are not going to get Tua back anytime soon. Watch them and Tyreek Hill. They could absolutely be in the market for him for sure. And then the Chargers, I don't see them making any moves necessarily. I think they're going to try to build this young core with a new coach and see what they can get done this season. But I definitely think the Chiefs are in, of course, playoff contention and Super Bowl contention. And then the last division is going to be the South. The AFC South is a 1-team race, right? It's just the Texans and nobody else. They're 5-1, and I think they're basically 3 games above everybody else in their division, having won a couple of division games already. I think they have this division wrapped up by week 9, because the Colts are riding with Joe Flacco, who has a boom or bust metric to him. The Tennessee Titans, they're stuck with Will Levis. I could see the Tennessee Titans hit reset in a lot of areas. I think they keep Calvin Ridley because nobody's going to be able to take on that big contract. But I think they could move off of DeAndre Hopkins. They may be able to fetch a third-round pick for him, especially with the contract, 2 years, $16 million. I think he only has like a $4 million base salary. I may have those numbers a little bit off, but I think you could see them hit reset. You may even see them hit reset with Treylon Burks, only because it's almost time for him to get paid, and he's going to want number one wide receiver type money. And with Calvin Ridley there and no quarterback in sight, they may decide to flip him for some picks. And so I think the Baltimore Ravens should be in on either one of those guys, Treylon Burks or DeAndre Hopkins, specifically Hopkins, because he's a guy that Lamar Jackson had named in the past that he wanted to play with. I think that he could come aboard and be an instant impact. Again, a number one presence, but he doesn't have to be the number one, right? Because he hasn't been a number one really in a couple of seasons, but when you have his presence on the field, it's going to take some pressure off of Zay. It's going to take some pressure off of Bate. And then with less pressure, I think increases the ability to make more plays. And so I absolutely think that DeAndre Hopkins should be in play. And if I'm the Baltimore Ravens, I'm on the phone right now, seeing if I can fetch him from the Tennessee Titans. And so to kind of recap, when I'm looking at the teams who are in playoff contention and also Super Bowl contention, let's go down the list. Chiefs out of the West, Ravens, Jets, Bills, right? Steelers, Chargers, and the Texans. Those are the teams I think that are in playoff contention and have Super Bowl aspirations. And I think with some of the moves that just been made, I think that they're trying to solidify their candidacy for sure. So, man, let me know what you guys want me to know, man. I'll be bringing these AFC North and Beyond videos, man. We just kind of go around the AFC and talk about what we need to talk about. Who do you guys see? Did I leave a team out who could be in contention, and did I leave a player out who could be on the move?